Five Nights at Freddy's is a very popular series that took the video game industry by storm when the first entry was released in 2014 by developer Scott Cawthon. The series is practically almost a decade old at this point. Wow, I feel really old. Growing up as a FNAF fan, I always thought that one of the best things about the series was the dedication of fan-created stories that were, well, created by fans. Nowadays, the Five Nights fanbase has become significantly divided ever since the release of Security Breach, but even then, it's undeniable that the FNAF community still has a significant amount of talent. That being said though, I don't think the popularity of FNAF will ever compare to how it was thriving on the internet when it first came out, and then Undertale came out. And it took a good chunk of FNAF's fame away, but I digress. One of the most common things fans would do in the FNAF community back in the day was shipping. According to the fabled device that all of us use in today's society known as Google, shipping is defined by dictionary.com as to take an interest in or hope for a romantic relationship between fictional characters or famous people, whether or not the romance actually exists. Shipping is an interesting subject in the FNAF community because it gets really complicated. After all, people were, and still are, shipping video game characters that, technically speaking, have dead corpses of children stuffed inside of them. People were always shipping the animatronics left and right. You had your Freddy X Chicas, your Foxy X Bonnies, etc. The reason why shipping is such a debated topic amongst FNAF fans is because of the point I made before. These characters are haunted by spirits of dead kids, and Springtrap, the main antagonist of the third FNAF installment, is possessed by the somehow still alive Steve Raglan, William Afton.
Hey, sportsy!
This is the same dude who killed the kids and put them into the animatronic suits. And when you have that knowledge, it's really weird to see a FNAF ship like Springtrap X Puppet, who was the first animatronic to be possessed in the FNAF series because the puppet was William's first victim. It's really messed up. However, another reason why shipping in FNAF gets complicated is because most of the fanbase ship the animatronics as themselves. This means that when the animatronics are paired up in a romantic relationship, that the kids or William Afton or anyone else said to have been possessing the animatronics have been removed, and the animatronics are their own sentient beings. Basically, they're furries. Nothing against furries, by the way, but that's just the best way I can explain it. Now that I've covered the topic of FNAF ships, which is honestly something I've never thought I'd ever speak about on my channel, it's time to take a look at a very popular series of web animations that took around 3 years to fully complete. My friends, the animator that I'm talking about today is TONY CRYNIGHT. So, who exactly is Mr. TONY CRYNIGHT? Tony is an animator from Italy. He commonly did some short animated sketches about random stuff like animation tests and, some other furry stuff. Once again, nothing against furries, but on the faithful date of January 11th, 2015, Tony uploaded his first ever FNAF video titled Foxy Mangle Chica. As of writing this right now, this video is 8 years old and has amassed 198k likes and 33,153,958 views. Talk about a huge feat. According to Tony's older Q&A videos, he confirmed that the idea of a FNAF animation was suggested to him by another YouTuber, and he decided to make a romance animation out of it because he is, and I quote,
"I am a romantic guy."
Truly wise words indeed. I'm not going to go into a deep analysis of Tony's FNAF series, but if you do want me to in a separate video, then maybe consider hitting that like and subscribe button and sharing this video around to other people who might enjoy this. But all you really need to know is that Tony essentially added fuel to the fire of the FNAF shipping catalog. The ships of Foxy X Mangle, Bonnie X Chica, and while maybe less so, even Springtrap X Mangle are most likely significantly birthed from Tony's FNAF series. Ignoring the ships and dramatic storyline, Tony's FNAF animation actually still holds up even in today's standards. Indie animation has become more popular in recent years with the releases of Hazbin Hotel, Helluva Boss, Lackadaisy, The Amazing Digital Circus, and others. But back in the day around 2015, it was a bit harder to be recognized, especially on YouTube, at least from my personal perspective. If I got that fact wrong, then please correct me in the comments below. Tony's style takes heavy inspiration from the likes of Disney and Warner Brothers, and the FNAF cast actually looks really good in Tony's interpretation. He also got high-quality voice acting and sound design work, in courtesy of the talented Laughin' Hyena.
Daniel, you eat ketchup on your biscuit? Oh, that's nasty. You gotta put mustard on the biscuits. You gotta. It's just a thing.
And others as well. I'll link their channels in the description. The animation also got a lot better over the years. I feel like there's a change in quality between when the first 7 parts came out, then the animation got a bit better from parts 8 to 14, and then 15 to 17 are just on another level. Tony definitely put a lot of passion in this, and for that, I have a lot of respect for him. Animation is known to not be easy, and the fact that Tony also stuck through with this series and didn't leave us on a cliffhanger is even more admirable. Tony's art style has inspired a lot of people, including myself. If you'd like, you could check out my fairly recent DeviantArt account. I've got some hopefully intriguing pieces of art that I'm proud to share with all of you. The link will be in the description. But going back to Tony, another big reason why he is remembered so fondly is because of the nostalgic value that his series brings to FNAF fans. So, naturally, since these animations began in 2015, many young FNAF fans like me watched it and thought that this was a cinematic masterpiece. And based on my already stated opinions, it still is. For animations on YouTube, and FNAF fan projects in general, the quality of Tony's series was practically unheard of at this time. Now, I'd like to point out that nowadays, you can just go watch the full movie compilation that Tony made on April Fool's Day, of all days. But in my personal opinion, I think it's more enjoyable to watch the original uploads of each part in the playlist Tony created. Why, you may ask? Because these are technically the videos we grew up watching. I, amongst many others, have had the pleasure to see Tony grow as the parts were released. I remember being a stupid little dumb kid and then hearing that part 17 was finally coming out. For those of you that don't know, Tony had run into some issues when it came to editing the final part of his FNAF series, and thus it took him 1 year to remedy the problem after part 16 was released. I remember having to go somewhere important on the day that part 17 was premiering, and I was just on edge the entire time because I wanted to go back home and watch it. Thankfully, I got to see the premiere, and boy, just making me think of that makes me sad. Why does time have to go by so quickly? No, seriously, why? Tony's FNAF series is practically the same age as the actual FNAF franchise itself. Knowing that the animations of the FNAF animatronics quite literally falling in love with each other is a decade old, it's a really insane feeling, man. Not only that, but before the actual FNAF movie released this year, Google and IMDb actually used to think that Tony's FNAF movie was the actual FNAF movie, since it was also just called Five Nights at Freddy's the movie. Even when the actual movie was released, a lot of people still went back to Tony's FNAF movie and rewatched it for nostalgia. Seriously, the impact these animations left is real. And now, this is the time I ask you, what do you do when you feel nostalgia? Do you keep it to yourself by perhaps rewatching whatever gave you those memories, or doing the old things that you used to do, or by visiting where you used to live? Do you talk to a friend or family member about it and both of you rejoice those times? If any of you do that, cool, you do that. But do you want to know what I did when I rewatched Tony's FNAF videos again? I turned the characters into marketable plushies. Yes, that is a sentence I actually just said. So, why did I even decide to make the entire cast of characters from Season 1 of Tony's FNAF series? Yes, I said Season 1, and sadly Season 2 doesn't seem to be a thing anymore, but that may be a topic for another time if you guys still really want me to do a retrospective on Tony's series like I mentioned earlier. Sorry, I got off track there. Let's head back to a couple of months. August of 2023. During that time, I was absolutely working my butt off trying to make plush and set props for my own FNAF story that takes Security Breach and turns it into something that is hopefully more comprehensible than the final product. Security Breach Halloween Hack. You can read the story in the description. As of the time of writing this script, I've published the first 4 chapters, as well as some artwork for the story that can also be found on my DeviantArt. Please, please, please read it, I'm desperate. Just kidding. But yes, please check it out if you're interested. So for a while, I was legit working on adapting a plush movie where Varric from the totally not obscure series Brandish goes to the Pizzaplex. But as more time passed, I started to feel the burnout. One day, while I was intending on working more on Security Breach Halloween Hack, my friends came over to my house for a sleepover. and at one point we were just goofing around and watching random FNAF memes like the certified classic I'm feeling romantical meme. But one of these videos that popped up on the TV when we were watching YouTube was Tony's full FNAF movie. So for nostalgia, I rewatched it with my friends. And then, yeah, I got fixated on Tony Cryknight again. So much so that I included Tony's FNAF movie in my latest live-action Varric skit as a running gag, Varric's Horrendous Halloween. But anyways, we eventually kind of started to make light of the film, and then as a joke, I said I was going to make the characters into plushies. My friends didn't believe me, so I proved them wrong by making Mangle. Yes, this originally started as an inside joke. My good friend Sir Lars made a short clip of Mangle and posted it to their TikTok, and then it went all downhill from there. So let's not waste any more time. So my friends, I present to you the Tony Cryknight FNAF plush set, completely scratch-made by me. Well everyone, here we are, in my basement, where I've attempted to recreate a setup of the warehouse featured in the climax of Tony's series, using props that I've already made from my other projects in the past. It's by no means accurate, but it'll suffice. And what better of a character to start off with than the very first one that I made? Here is Mangle. And Mangle was definitely one of the more difficult ones to make because of the fact that she was the very first one. The thing about Tony's characters is that he has a very distinct style, and the most memorable part of his characters are the face. So with all of these characters, I had to make sure that I had gotten the head just right, or else it would not look good at all, but I'm very happy with how Mangle came out. For the first character to be made, I think it was a good head start. You guys are probably wondering how I made these plushies in the first place, and the process is easier said than done. Trust me, it really is. The first thing I had to do was actually draw the concept out digitally, and then take paper and trace the body of the paper onto the felt that I needed for the character, and then the felt would have had two halves, and I would have stitched them together and stuffed them at the same time. And once the entire body was sewn together and stuffed, I would add all of the details. And the details are hands down the hardest part. Like I said, I had to nail the faces down, but everything else was alright. Otherwise, I believe that's it for Mangle. Although, Mangle, I will say, I am quite disappointed in you. I was kind of expecting you to attack Springtrap at some point in the series, like you had done to Bonnie and Chica over there, but you didn't. So, go attack Springtrap now, okay? I'm sorry, Mangle. Alright, next up we've got Freddy Fazbear, the bill counter himself. You know, he spends all day in his office counting those bills. I wish he would be generous to count everybody's bills, but I don't know if that will ever happen. I just want to talk about how much I love how his face came out. I think I captured his personality really well, because Freddy is always like this sarcastic, smug kind of boss guy, and I think the plushie absolutely captured that really well. I'm very proud of how Freddy came out. I think his colors are alright too. I think his brown is a little bit darker than how it is in the actual series, but I mean, listen, I had to work with what I had to work with since there's limited amount of colors of felt out there. But yeah, there's Freddy, you know, he's looking pretty good. I like how Freddy came out. Next up, we have Foxy, who for some reason, I'm very sorry for this, but his shoulder over here is a little bit loose, because of the stuffing. It didn't go. I couldn't get enough stuffing in that area, so now it's kind of messed up. Anyways, Foxy, I love how you came out, man, but hated making you. I hated making you. Yes, it is true. I did not like making Foxy, but I think he came out. I think it was worth it. I think it was worth torturing myself to make all of these plushies. Yeah, they were very hard to make, man. If there is one thing that I do like about Foxy, is that I gave him a big tail, which is something that I didn't do for Mangle. I feel like if there was something I wanted to improve on Mangle, it would be that I would have given her a bigger tail, but it's too late for that now. And now we have the absolute best advertiser for Patreon ever. We have Bonnie. His face looks kind of weird. I'm sorry. His face does kind of look weird. And if I'm not mistaken, Tony, if you're watching this, if I'm not mistaken, but Bonnie is your favorite character, and I butchered his face. I mean, maybe not entirely. I think it's the mouth that kind of looks a bit derpy, but I don't know, man. Those eyes. They say that eyes are the window to the soul, and I don't know what kind of vibes I'm getting from Bonnie right now. On the bright side, I do like the color of the bow tie. I think I nailed the colors on him. Well, I think the purple's a little bit lighter, but who really cares? It's purple, and it looks good, okay? And now we have Chica, who was surprisingly a lot harder to make than I expected. I should not have underestimated Chica for this one. I mean, I probably should never have underestimated her to begin with. She's the one that likes to carry a machete in Tony's universe all the time. Her beak is actually has two layers, because there was one that I was originally going to use. It was originally just going to be one thin layer of felt for the beak. I don't know if you can see it. But then the mouth, I didn't like how the mouth came out. So I made another beak and hot glued it over the old one, and then just did a simple smile on Chica. And fun fact, her mouth is the only one made from felt that is just like a straight line. All the other ones over here are just like a black Sharpie marker. But yeah, Chica's beak gave me some trouble, and if there was one thing that I would like to have improved on Chica, I guess it maybe would be the hair over here. I feel like it should have been carried a little bit more to the center so that it fluffs off more this way instead of just fluffing off from there, but I used hot glue, so it's too late for that now! Originally, I was going to use the same orange felt for Chica's legs, but I decided against it. It looked too weird, so I just colored it in with an orange Sharpie and had to pray that it worked, and it did. Thankfully, it worked. Now we have Springtrap. You still have that Fiverr career going on, my guy? Anyways, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. I love how Springtrap came out. In fact, he's probably... yeah, I think he's probably my favorite one out of all these plushies. I absolutely nailed his color palette. I totally did. So what I ended up doing was I actually got this like army green colored felt for Springtrap, but it was too green. So after I sewed his body up together, I took a yellow Sharpie paint marker and colored the entire body in yellow. And that's how he got this color. Then of course I just used regular yellow felt for his muzzle and eyes and ears and whatnot. And yeah, I think he came out spectacular. All the withering on him is just a red and black Sharpie marker. But overall, I'm very happy with how Springy came out. Nothing much else to say. And now we have the final boss of Tony's series, Fredbear. You may have noticed that Fredbear is larger in comparison to the other characters. This is how tall he is compared to Springtrap, and there is a reason for that. In Tony's series, Fredbear literally body slams Bonnie and Chica. he's literally like larger in comparison to everybody else in the actual animation. So I took that into account. I decided to give him pink eyes instead of the black eyes, because that would mean he's powered off. Overall, I'm happy with Fredbear, except for one thing. His teeth. Like, oh my goodness. I kind of butchered the teeth. I was trying to go for this version of Fredbear's mouth. But, to be honest, I should have just gone with the way that his mouth looked like in this picture. I feel like it would have fit the plushie a bit better. I made a terrible mistake by using a regular Sharpie marker on such a small piece of felt. Oof, yeah, and boy does it show. If he's away in a distance, it doesn't look so bad, but it kind of just looks like he has black lines going down his mouth, which is not really what it's supposed to be, but it'll have to do. I tried doing the same trick with Chica that I did with her beak, but it just did not work for Fredbear. You can imagine how awkward it would look from a side view to have 2 layers of white felt for the mouth. But yeah, there's Fredbear. This is actually a subtle detail. I don't know if anyone knows this, but I actually used black thread to sew Fredbear up instead of yellow thread. All the other characters have threads that are their designated base color, except for Fredbear. I used black for him. That's because I'm gonna try and move the little tuft of hair. You can see that I attempted to do that little stitch line on his head, and that's why I did black thread. So there's a little fun fact for you guys. So, what is my final verdict with the Tony CRYNIGHT plushies that I made? I'm very proud of them. They were very hard to make, but I'm proud of them. And I love all of them equally, even if they have some imperfections. But at the end of the day, they represent the characters well. You may notice that with all the characters, except for Foxy and Mangle, I was able to do it for them. But for the rest of the characters, you may have noticed that I couldn't really do the little cheek tufts at the end of their cheeks. It's kind of just rounded like that. I felt it looked better. I tried doing the cheek tuft thing. It did not work. By the way, I want to apologize if this whole segment came out a little awkward. It was not scripted, so I was doing my best to improv this whole section when it came to reviewing the plushies. I didn't want this part to be too long because this video is already over 10 minutes long. And most of it is just me flapping my gums about Tony and his, like, the backstory of his series and FNAF ships and, you know, all that, when these are the guys that you really want to be seeing in the video. Again, I'm sorry about that, but I figured I would kind of conjure up a little something before I actually got into the whole review. Overall, I'm very happy that I got to share these guys with you. I've had them made for a couple of months now, and who knows? The internet can be a very crazy place, so maybe one day Tony CRYNIGHT himself will actually stumble upon this video and see the plushies that I've made of the characters from his original FNAF series. And hey, if things get even more crazy on the internet, then if this video gets enough attention, maybe I'll be obligated to remake Tony's 17-part FNAF series with the plush models that I have made in this video. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but maybe if, like I said, if Tony somehow watches this and he's okay with it, and if I'm feeling generous enough, then maybe I will do it. You never know. Well now, I believe that's it. This is a pretty satisfying conclusion to the review, and let me know if you guys want to see more Tony CRYNIGHT FNAF plushies. I have recognized that I did not make a plush version of Mangle in her broken form, which is what she looks like throughout most of Tony's series. Of anything, that is probably going to be the next character that I make for Tony Crynight's plushies, if you guys even want to see that continue. But other than that, I don't think I'm going to do anyone else. I have been considering making Balloon Boy and the Puppet as plushies just for fun. But seriously, I really don't know if I'm going to continue making these. They were very time consuming. And I am proud of how they came out, but yes, they did take up a lot of my time. And it was kind of stressful to get all the details right at times because they're smaller plushies. So I had to make sure that all the details were cut in the right shapes and glued the right way and in the right places. And oh my goodness, it was a process. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you would like to possibly see more of this kind of content on my channel, make sure to like this video, subscribe, share it to people who might be interested. And I suppose that's it. This is Daniel Movie Productions signing out.